Hi guys, welcome to video 4 in our Learning Python series. In the previous programs we wrote, our programs ran from line 1 down to the end in sequence. In this video we're going to learn how to make our programs do different things depending on different situations, depending on different conditions. Okay, so let's have a look at a little bit of code which we probably got after the exercise from the last video. So we were asked to input the price of an item, input the amount of money paid by the customer, and then calculate how much change the customer is due, and then print that out. That's a quite straightforward program, and we'll just confirm that it works. So enter the price of the item. Let's say the item cost 40. I paid 50. My change is 10. Okay, that works nicely. But there's a fairly obvious error in the program in that if I enter the price of the item as 200, but I enter the amount paid as 50, it says your change is minus 150, which mathematically is correct, but doesn't make a lot of sense in our context. So it would be really good if we could change our program to give some kind of error message if the change was negative or if the person didn't pay enough. Luckily we can do that with an if statement. So up here we enter the price, we enter the amount paid. Down here I want to use what's called an if statement here to check whether or not the customer has paid the right amount. So if, and then in brackets here I need something which is a Boolean condition, something which evaluates to either true or to false. And in this case I want if the amount paid is less than the price. Okay, that's a Boolean condition. Paid less than price can either be true or it can be false. It can't be anything else. It's either true or it's false. And I end my if statement with a colon. Start a new line. Now you'll notice that when I start a new line after an if statement, PyCharm indents the next line. It has these spaces here before it. That's so I can tell what is inside the if statement and what is not inside the if statement. So we'll show that here. If the paid amount is less than the price, print that's not enough money. Okay. So what we should find here now is if this condition is true, we get the error message that's not enough money. But if that condition is not true, i.e. they do pay enough, we shouldn't get that message. Okay, let's run that again and see. Enter the price of the item, 200. This time I'm going to pay enough, so I'm going to say I'm going to pay exactly 200. My change is 0. I don't get the error message, which is correct. Okay, let's run it one more time. Price is 200 again, but this time I'm only going to pay 8. Okay, so I get the error message here, that's not enough money. But annoyingly I still get this, your change is minus 192 at the bottom. So what I really want to do is change my code so that it does either the error message or it does the calculation and tells me my change. And the easiest way to do that is to keep my if statement here, if paid is less than price, but to put an else here. And what that else says is I will either do the if statement with the error message, otherwise, else, I will do what's under the else statement. And to make sure that these lines of code here are inside the else, I have to indent them. I have to shift them across by pressing the tab key. So that now I will do either line 4 or I will do 6, 7 and 8. Let's run that program again just to confirm that. So, item price is 200. I'm going to pay enough. I'm going to pay 201. My change is 1. Perfect, that's working nicely. Run it one more time. The item price is 200, but I'm only going to pay 3. That's not enough money. And it doesn't give me the change calculation because it doesn't make sense to do the change calculation. Okay, so that's our basic new construct there for us, the if and the else. You don't need an else every time you need an if, but in this particular situation I did. Before we go any further, let's have a look at the other operators we can use for Boolean conditions. And one thing you'll notice is that if we're checking if two things are equal, we use a double equal sign. Okay, so sometimes we'll have many different possible options for output, and a classic example of that is we get a percentage grade for an exam and we have to turn that into a letter grade, and we might have grades A, B, C, D and so on. So I've written a short program here, and before I run it I'd like you to think about what this is going to output, and I'd like you to think very, very carefully about it because it might not do what you think it does. Okay, I'm going to run this program, and I'm going to run it at first with a grade of 82. And we can see here from the code, if percent is greater than 80, it should be printing a grade A. So let's see what we get when we enter 82 as my grade. 82. So we get an A, we get a B, and we get a C, which is not particularly helpful. Let's run it one more time and then we'll look at why this is happening. Okay, so let's look at getting 75% now. That should be a grade B. And we can see that doesn't work quite right as well. That gives us BC. Okay, so let's look at how this works then. Let's imagine we enter 85 as our percent. So is 85 greater than 80? Yes. So it's going to print out A. Go down to the next line. Is 85 greater than 70? Well, yes it is. So it's also going to print out B. Is 85 greater than 60? Yes it is. So it's also going to print out C. So that's why we're seeing the results that we're seeing, because it's checking each of these if conditions, each of these if statements in turn. What we really want is a way of saying it's either this, or it's this, or it's this, or it's this. And the way we can do that is using the ELIF statement. ELIF is short for else if. So if I change this here to ELIF, I change this to ELIF as well, now our code will execute this line, and if this line is true, we'll get the print A, and it won't do the other lines because they're all part of the ELIF or the else. If this line is false, it will check the next condition. If this condition is true, then it will do the print B and it will skip the other conditions, and so on. So it should work now, in other words. Let's try that and confirm. So if I enter my 85 this time, sure enough it gives me only the A, and it doesn't give me the other conditions. If I enter 65, it gives me only a C. If I enter 75, it gives me only a B, and let's try 55 as well. It gives me only a D. So it's really important when you're writing your if statements to think, are these outputs mutually exclusive, or is it possible to have more than one of them being true at once? Okay, so that's quite a lot for you to take in one video. We've got if statements, we've got if else statements, we've got if ELIF, and then we've got if ELIF with an else there as well. So lots of options. The best thing for me to do is to leave you with some exercises to try. So here we go.